My name's Louise, I am 32 years old and I have PKU. Back when I was younger, PKU didn't seem a problem because my mum did everything for me, and that changed quite quickly as I approached adolescence. During my secondary school experience, I dabbled perhaps having a packet of crisps or a chocolate bar a couple of times a week, and I knew that I shouldn't, and I knew that my levels were becoming higher because of that. I think that I was predicted to do really well in GCSEs, and I did okay, but looking back now, I know that I could have done a lot better. I, like many other people that I know, can recognise that there are so many ill effects that I feel from not being on diet. I think number one is a brain fog, but that fog quickly becomes an overarching gloom that puts you in a downward spiral. I get headaches, but everyone gets headaches. It's more than that. I very quickly become very anxious. I don't want to speak to people, and I'm irritable, even to the point where people talking when I'm trying to talk, I become unbearable, and I don't say anything because I'd like to be polite, but it festers and I am constantly in a bad mood. I walk around like Jekyll and Hyde. My husband can tell when my levels are high, and there have been points in my life where my control hasn't been very good. Other things have come into play, just normal things like having a stressful job or things to do at home, and PKU goes out of the window because you're trying to deal with normal daily life, and then you become unbearable because you take it out on the people around you. My concentration has suffered because of my levels not being where they should, and it impacts on everything. It impacts on what I do at work, it impacts on my relationships at home. I've also suffered from tremors and forgetfulness. But the worst thing, I think, is that all of that bringing you down further, and I have been extremely depressed at points in my life. I had to take a very long time off work a couple of years ago when things became too much, and although I love my job, I live to teach, I could not cope with the demands of a job and having to be a mum and a wife and keep on top of everything else. I'm currently 20 weeks pregnant with my second child. I had my first little boy, Jake, when I was 19 years old. I had him when I was 20. I was off diet at the time, and it was a big shock, a happy surprise. It was incredibly difficult, though. At the beginning, I lost a lot of weight. I was very ill. I think I had severe morning sickness, but it was all-day sickness. The supplements that I had to take would make my sickness a lot worse, and it was very scary for a very long time, and I don't feel I could enjoy my pregnancy at all, really. Having to measure everything that I ate, but then also measure how much I vomited and make the same amount of formula again and force it down. It wasn't a happy time. Unfortunately, when the baby's born, I know that I will go back onto a normal diet, and it'll be because the baby's here and the baby will be fine. But being a new mum and having everything else, it's going to go out the window because you can't juggle that many plates, and it isn't a small thing. It's what you eat, it's what you consume. It should be something small. It's not something that you can put on the back burner when you're pregnant. But the minute the baby's here, I know that will go out of the window, and I'm going to find myself struggling, and then being a new mum on top of it. So I want my baby here, but I'm also dreading feeling how I used to feel. What would make my life easier is some kind of treatment where I can control my levels and my levels are in range, but without having to do the diet and the supplements. Years ago, I took part in a trial with a drug called Kuvan, and that did bring my levels down into the range that they should have been, and I felt fantastic on that. So when I was on Kuvan, it made huge differences in all aspects of my life. At uni, I was on the ball. I was always putting my hand up in lectures. I felt like all parts of my brain were firing at once, and everything made sense, and I enjoyed being there. It wasn't a task. I was also working at the time, so I was managing my time at home as a mother, studying and working as I was unstoppable. I felt happy. I was happy at home. I felt like I was being a good mum. I felt like I was being a good partner to my husband. Everything seemed normal and I was happy. I know many people with PKU, and unfortunately what they all have in common is that they all struggle a lot with the diet. They struggle with the condition. The majority of them, if not all of them, struggle with some kind of depression or anxiety or both, and it's constant. They can't keep up with the condition and the things that they should do. They struggle with daily life, and they will speak to me openly about it, but it's something that they're almost embarrassed about, but they can't help, and they don't approach clinics with their worries. They avoid clinics and they've dropped out of the system and they're struggling on their own. I do have worries for the future. I worry that we don't know what's going to happen. I think I know what might happen. Adults who aren't following any kind of regime and aren't following the diet, they're going to struggle more and more. They're going to get older. They're going to need more care. I don't know how I'm going to be when I'm 60 or 70 years old. It's scary that we don't know. This generation, my generation, who have been on diet but come off or haven't been great on diet, we don't know the effects that it's had on them. My dream would be for PKU to stop being brushed under the carpet, for people to realise that it isn't just a diet and it can't be maintained, it can't be cured by diet. It's much more than that. There's no diet out there that affects you mentally if you don't stick to it. It's a way of life, but it's something extra. When you are a working person, when you're a parent, when you're studying, you should be able to focus on that and not have to think about everything that you put into your mouth and whether your levels are high and low, and not have it affect your mood and affect simple things that normal people find easy. There should be a treatment out there that can eliminate all of that, all of the worry, all of the anxiety, all of the stress, and let people just reach their potential and be the people that they want to be.